You're listening to the Decentralized Talk podcast, your crypto connection.
Decentralized Talk. Decentralized Talk.
All right, guys. Welcome to another outstanding episode of the Decentralized Talk podcast. We took a little time off for the holidays, spent some time with our family, but we are back with a vengeance. We dried our crypto tears. That's a lie. There's still a lot of tears. But we are back. This week we got a great interview with the CEO of Minds.com, Bill Ottman. We dive into all sorts of decentralized talk. He's trying to start a social media platform to take down the likes of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and he's doing a really great job of growing this platform. So, learn some about decentralized social media platforms. Yeah, we'll just jump right into it.
All right. So it is a privilege and an honor we have with us the CEO and the career. Would you consider, are you the CEO? You're also called the CEO, Bill?
Yeah, co-founder, CEO. Yeah,
co-founder, CEO. Okay. So the co-founder, CEO of Minds.com, Minds, of course, being the decentralized social media, social networking platform that is really challenging Facebook, challenging Twitter, and is the place that people who are interested in doing things that are decentralized and growing the decentralized community go, particularly when they get flabbergasted with the things that Google's doing, the things that Facebook's doing, and the things that Twitter's doing in terms of privacy. Bill, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, I'm psyched to talk about it.
Cool. So one of the very first things that I want to talk about is from a privacy perspective. I watched an episode of Tucker Carlson, and I remember you were on the show. This is back in February, and you were talking about, this is when Google and Facebook were banning people with cryptocurrency or with like blockchain, I guess, in their title. And I don't think so. Like in the episode, I don't know if you addressed that specifically, because I don't know. And I don't know, have you ever found out what it was with Google, and how has that panned out? Are you guys still having trouble working with Google from an ads perspective? What's the status on the Google
Yeah. So
story?
basically, I mean, the answer is yes. Google's policies are hyper restrictive, both in regards to cryptocurrency and also content policy in general. So, Minds is a platform that promotes freedom of expression, and our policy is very based in free speech. So, we follow the First Amendment. Obviously, if it's legal in the US, it's okay, but without incitements to violence, no harassment, this kind of stuff. But, beyond that, we're fairly open. And so what we've found that Google's reasoning for them banning us from AdSense, it's mostly around explicit content, but the issue is that they're completely inconsistent. So, Twitter and Tumblr have tons of explicit content on them. I mean, you can easily do a search for many different explicit terms on both those websites, quickly find all kinds of content that doesn't fall under those terms. So, it's all about inconsistency, that they're subjectively making determinations about certain content, certain users, certain accounts being banned and others not. And it's causing them a lot of problems, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that they're intimidated by your platform? Do you think is that the underlying issue?
Speculation about that is tough because you don't know if we've been caught up in the algorithm or if there's actually coordinated behavior occurring. We do know that coordinated behavior is occurring with censorship initiatives by these big networks. So we see simultaneous takedowns of different platforms, different individuals. So, but I don't want to speculate because I haven't directly communicated with them. I would love to have a conversation with Sergey Brin and Larry Page. And, we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and I want to kind of back up a little because I think a lot of our listeners know about Minds because we cross post Minds, and I mean we have a big presence on Twitter. So I mean, when you set out to start Minds, I mean, was it to kind of disrupt the privacy aspect of normal social media platforms like Facebook and Google and Twitter? Was it the censorship? Was it the revenue aspect? What was like the initial spark that kind of wanted you to create a more decentralized social media platform?
I mean, all of the above. The primary reason having to do with free and open source software versus proprietary software. So Google, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, pretty much all of Apple, Tumblr, every major social network that you can think of, they're all proprietary software, meaning it's closed source. You don't have access to inspect the code with which you're interacting with. So we knew that inevitably there was going to rise up a network or a network of networks that were fully free and open source, encrypted, moving towards decentralization. It's just the same thing happened with Wikipedia. WordPress is dominating the CMS world. They're open source. It's just gonna happen. If people have the choice between a network that provides them with transparency and privacy versus networks that don't, they're gonna choose transparency and privacy. But the problem is that we need to build up a network that has critical mass that's competitive to these big networks. And Snapchat is also totally proprietary and like surveillance based. They all have varying degrees of surveillance, but the root issue is that you don't have the ability to look at their source code to see what it's actually doing. So Minds is like fully open source. You can look at our code, see what we're doing. We're moving towards decentralization. We're not fully decentralized, but we did just launch a project called Nomad, which is public on our GitHub right now, github.com/minds/nomad. And that's a fully decentralized parallel network, which we're working on, which uses Ethereum addresses as the usernames and the DAT protocol, which is a peer-to-peer torrent-based system where you access it through the Beaker browser, and basically everyone is becoming a peer in the network and helping host the information. So there's actually no central servers involved.
Mm-hmm.
Minds.com, as it said, sorry, I'm kind of ranting here.
No, go ahead.
No, it's interesting. Hey, and if I could just to ask a question on that point, your platform is extremely tied into the cryptocurrency market. Obviously, that's a large listener base of our program. With these massive hits that cryptocurrency is taking, are you reevaluating the level of exposure you have in cryptocurrency versus blockchain in general, or are you still as full speed ahead into cryptocurrency as you had planned to be maybe January 1 versus November 1?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, basically, so Minds.com as it sits is hybridized in terms of centralization versus decentralization. So our core stack, we are using central servers. We're using Cassandra and now Cockroach DB. We use Angular and PHP, like modern object-oriented PHP for the backend. But then we also, certain components of the network are decentralized, like the Ethereum system, which is the whole reward system. So basically, you post on Minds and you earn tokens based on your engagement and referrals. Every day, you're allocated certain percentage of the reward pool based on your contribution. And then you can use those tokens to boost your post. One token will give you 1,000 extra impressions. You can also send them and subscribe to other users monthly with crypto, sort of like a crypto Patreon situation. You can also get premium services with the tokens. And so, and it's an ERC20 token, which is on the Ethereum blockchain, but we have a hybrid on-chain, off-chain solution so that you don't have to necessarily deal with all the gas fees all the time. You can, for certain functions, it's probably worth it. But in other cases, we want, like the rewards, basically, we distribute them off chain. People can use them off chain. They can also pull them on chain, which we reward for as well. But, the down market in the crypto is definitely, it's affecting things. But at the same time, it provides us with a transparent ledger of all the transactions occurring on the network. It lets people monitor the supply. There's all these benefits of having the reward system running on an open database like Ethereum. And we also use WebTorrent for some of our peer-to-peer video hosting. And anyone can actually set up their own Minds network. They can set up their own node. They can set up their own app. They can take our code and federate with us. We're actually playing with ActivityPub, which is a federation protocol, so you can have posts going from node to node. And so, the down market in crypto, I'm not really that worried about long term. We're just, we're moving forward, still believing in the market for sure. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people would probably be interested in knowing if you're comfortable with it. You don't have to give numbers, obviously, but what does your crypto bag look like?
You mean how much Ethereum are we holding?
Are you only holding Ethereum? Do you buy Tron?
Just personally.
Yeah, like what? What
personally?
do you,
I can talk.
I can
talk personally.
Yeah, I think people would like to know.
I mean, I have Bitcoin, I have Ethereum, I have a handful of others in the top 10, 20. I'm definitely holding. Like, you don't get involved with this market because you're trying to make short-term gains. I mean, some people do, but it is a global decentralized database that's powering applications. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing this. Other blockchains are doing this as well. This is a long game where I'm not at all fazed by what's happening. If you look at the lifetime growth of these networks, it's only improving. But at the same time, we're focused on the utility of the Minds tokens within our network. So, despite all the chaos happening in the crypto world, one Minds tokens gets you 1,000 impressions. When you boost with it, you post a photo you go to your page, you boost it for one token. You're getting 1,000 impressions for that. So that's why we're sort of like a semi-stable coin, because you will always be able to get that with the Minds token. That is real value. Apart, of so many tokens out there that just don't really have any legitimate use. And we've been focused on the internal application of our two tokens and making sure that there's value there beyond the greater crypto market.
So off of what you just said there, currently a Minds token gets you 1,000 impressions, and you're somewhat of a stable token. And I just saw currently a Minds token's about 15 cents. Well, is that going to fluctuate through over time? And if it does, are you going to change the amount of impressions that you'll be able to get per a Minds token, or is that going to be stable over time? Is that the plan?
We're not going to change. I'm going to say very most likely we're not going to change the impressions, but the price will change. I think that it's important to have a stable amount of impressions that people can rely on getting from the token. So apart from the dollar value. And so if 1,000 impressions on like Google or Facebook can run from anywhere from $5 to $10. So 1,000 impressions on Minds is only 15 cents right now. So that's like insane
Oh,
discount
absolutely.
on
Yeah.
views. So, as we evolve, as we develop much, anti-surveillance type advertising, where users are actually opting in to receive certain types of content as opposed to getting spied on, the value of our tokens is going to improve, and we'll figure out ways to have it be more dynamic. But currently, because we actually had to get away from the fluctuating Ethereum price, we've pegged it to 15 cents USD worth of Ethereum. When we first launched, it was basically 0.0005 ETH for one Minds token. But because Ethereum was just so all over the place, we're making a call at like multiple times hourly to keep the token pegged to 15 cents US dollars, which keeps the whole system a little bit more healthy.
You kind
How
of
do
said
you?
earlier something that I've kind of gone back and forth on with the inevitability of a competitor to something like Facebook, and I couldn't agree more. However, I do see that if we look through history of these huge social media platforms about privacy and censorship, we look at the mess that Cambridge Analytica caused. It seems like most people, they don't care that much about censorship and privacy, because even if they know they're being spied on, it seems like most people they just don't care, and they'll continue to post the same content that they usually would. Do you think that's because there's no viable alternative, or do you think they're just used to the same kind of platforms like Facebook? What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's really hard to extract Google and Facebook from your life. I mean, Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp, Google owns YouTube. It's just, not a simple thing to get these corporations out of your life. So, I think people do care. I also think that people want to communicate with their community, and everyone is on a lot of these big networks, and so they're not going to completely jump ship until there's a viable alternative that is as big as those apps: Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, everything. And so we have work to do, which we're doing the work. We're hiring rapidly right now. We're growing quickly to catch up in terms of functionality, in terms of critical mass. But once we have competitive apps that are open source, encrypted, decentralized, that are in that league, I think people will start much more easily switching and leaving the big ones, because no one likes Facebook. They just use it because
Yeah,
it's
it's Facebook.
there and it's easy. Yeah,
So,
they don't
Bill,
they don't like Zuckerberg.
when you say people, do you have defined? Um, I guess, like, do you have defined groups of people, or do you have like identified, like, are you talking about, you're talking about millennials who will take hold of this first, or are you talking, because to me, like, the thing with Facebook is your grandparents are on Facebook, right? My grandparents, i- in an open source platform like mine's, it would scare the hell out of them, right? Because the first time they got something in their feed that was like not about Jesus, they would turn it off.
Mhm.
And so with Facebook, one of the things that they do well is they soften everything. Apple does the same thing, I think, with like their apps. Like anybody who's a programmer hates Apple typically, right? Because they like the ability to change and do things and manipulate, like Android. But Apple is it's so idiot proof. It's like McDonald's, it's just like fries, Coke, drink, hamburger. How do you engage the grandparents? How do you get people who are not tech oriented onto the Minds platform and into the and buy into the concept of decentralization, or buy into the concept of your security matters?
Hmm. Well, I think you'll probably have some group of grandparents who are on Facebook, but others who are like, man, I'm never gonna try that, and it seems sketchy. They hear everything about all the madness happening with these big networks and the surveillance and the bias and the censorship. And so I think, but I mean, I agree with what you're saying in that you have to create a blank slate type experience for any new user so that you're not exposing people to things that don't interest them. I think that it's a fair point to, you know, people don't shouldn't have to see what anything they don't want to see. And based on, the last few years, we've been really helping build the network by feeding people these boosts, which, every 20 posts in the feed you'll see a boost, which is how the network drives. It's basically everyone boost showing up in everyone's feed every once in a while. It's not surveillance based, but you have a raw chronological feed, no algorithms. You're going to get 100% of the posts of everyone you subscribe to. That is like our mandate. But every once in a while you'll see a boost, and this is how we drive the reward system. But I'm thinking that as we grow, we're probably gonna phase that out where, truly you do have a blank slate experience when you come in. You're recommended things without spying that, you're interested in seeing. And, from there, I think you're not going to scare away people. And you are going to let people find content that is interesting to them. So,
Bill, let me ask you this: would it be possible? So I would love to see. I mean, I'm nobody, so whatever. But I would love to see a social media or a media platform that okay, they can spy on me. I think we all probably allow that to some extent. The spying, they can spy on me, but I think the thing that freaks me out, or the thing that kind of pisses me off, is like they're not upfront about it. And so, I mean, I think it would be really interesting to, like, if somebody came on to Minds, their first experience on Minds, to be able to say, hey, we actually did spy on you. Basically, we found your usages on all these other different platforms through our blogs and through these other things. This is how we found them, right? And then ask you, like, hey, is this content that you want to see? So you can make an educated guess, from the beginning, but you're very open source or very upfront and very obvious about, like, this is where we got the information. We basically asked you in one form or another on a different platform or something like that.
yeah, I completely hear what you're saying. Like, I think that just a simple act of transparency like that, like when a new user signs up, you say, look, we can give you tailored results. We're gonna sort of, quote unquote, surveil you to give you a better experience, give you tailored results. A lot of people will voluntarily opt into that as long as you're being upfront and honest and, not doing anything sketchy. But, like, look, the reality is that based on your behavior on the internet, you can get fed results that are more relevant to you, and some people may want that. But the issue comes down to, for instance, if, like, with Facebook, part of the way that they grew so much was they would basically trick people into giving them their whole address book, all their contacts.
Right.
And so when you give all your contacts to an app, you are betraying the trust of your contacts. You're giving up their information to Facebook or Google or whoever. And so we don't even want to put people in the position where they're tempted to betray the privacy of their friends, because, we don't have to put people in that awkward position because too many people will cave. And this makes our growth much harder because we're trying to be more ethical with it. But, when you're not grabbing everybody's contact, it definitely makes it harder to grow. So you need to inspire your user base to voluntarily ask their contacts if they want to join, which is a much slower process. I mean, Facebook literally, so many leaks have shown that they were just digging into people's contacts and without any regard for privacy for
Oh.
the past 5 years.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, all the auto opt-ins by default that they can read your messages, and the data that they bring in is just it's really it's amazing, honestly, the data that they bring in without people even agreeing to that.
Oh yeah, they'll scrape your private messages. Currently, Minds.com links are not even, you cannot even send someone a Minds.com link in Facebook Messenger. It'll tell you, this link is not allowed.
That's Facebook doing that?
It's Facebook doing that, yeah.
Wow.
And Facebook is scraping absolutely everything you're doing in Messenger. They're following you around every other website you're going to while your browser is open. They are going so far as to taking your zip code from your two-factor authentication phone number to target ads at you based on your phone number, which you were supposed to be using to have better security.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Security.
they are so
Where's
over
the
the
security from the platform? It's not just security.
there's no way to opt out of surveillance by Facebook. There's no button that says stop spying on me.
No.
There's impossible. Same with Google. And so our position is, look, you don't have to give us any personal information if you don't want to. We don't even want your personal information, to be honest. If you want to give us an email, you can, so that we can send you updates and whatnot. But that's up to you.
Yeah, and as far as I know, I mean, you guys have a messaging app too. Is that encrypted or?
It is encrypted. We don't have the ability to read people's conversations, so it's password protected. So we can't look. Now, we're working on making it fully end-to-end encrypted, so that there's literally no possible way for us to even brute force into anything. It's not end-to-end yet. That's definitely a goal for 2019. And but yeah, we made it password protected because we just don't even want the ability to be even able to look.
So let me ask you about that then. I always try to play the devil's advocate as much as possible.
You're good. It suits you.
Okay, so if your platform offers encryption end to end, and you have terrorist groups, Al Qaeda, Taliban, utilizing Minds to communicate about mass casualty events, mass terrorist events. What's your philosophy, or how are you guys addressing those types of issues? What is the Minds points on how to balance the need for security and anonymity versus the ability of someone to abuse it?
Sure. So basically, we don't spy on people's private conversations. We can't. Now, if we're going to abide by the law in the U.S., that's basically it. We're not going to compromise one person's encryption so that we can read everyone's conversation. That's just not anything that we're going to do. So, because if you compromise one person's encryption, you compromise everybody's encryption. That's both terrorists and regular people. So the whole idea that you should compromise encryption to trap terrorists is stupid, because by compromising encryption, you're then compromising everyone who works at the CIA, everyone who works at the NSA. They all have phones too. Guess what? You're compromising their encryption too. You don't want everyone in those agencies to also have their phones basically ready to be hacked. So that whole philosophy is totally ignorant. It's not based on any of the thoughts of top cybersecurity researchers, top encryption experts. It's dead obvious that you never make backdoors, because one backdoor gives everyone a backdoor.
Yeah, and then what's sad is, I mean, that's an argument that a lot of these companies use, is that it's for your own good, it's for your own safety,
Right.
that we're tracking all this. And that's the world we live in. And I think when we were talking about the grandparent aspect of it, I think it really is going to come down to adoption, slow adoption. The grandparents will come when the grandkids are there. Once the grandkids are on the platform, then, and not on Facebook and not on Snapchat, then they'll start migrating as well.
That's a good point.
I think it just comes down to adoption.
Once the picture of your kids are on there, they'll want to see them, and they'll be on there to look at them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're definitely focusing more on the types of features that matter to new generations. I mean, stories, we're focusing more on live video. Next year, we're going to be really making huge leaps with regards to video. And, stories are an important form of communication. Like, you really can't deny it. It short form video, quick little snaps of video, just, it's a great way to consume media. And yeah, we're working on it. We're also working on live streaming and video chatting and all of these things that are necessary. And so it's not even to say, like, look, no one can deny that all of these big apps have brilliant developers, brilliant programmers who have created cool software, but it's pretty much corrupt. Like, it's all run, it's all proprietary, it's all spying on you. This is why the Instagram founders left, the WhatsApp founders left. You have all this inner turmoil happening. Google, Facebook, Twitter. Literally, the founders of Instagram both left because they're compromising all the Instagram people's privacy. Same thing happened with WhatsApp. Same thing happened with the Oculus. It is insane. It's happening at Google. You have employees freaking out because there's so much bias. There's so much surveillance. It's so funny how they're just being exposed. Like, even by the founders of Instagram are saying that these people, that Zuckerberg and Sandberg, are corrupt. I mean, so it's not hidden anymore.
No, but I mean, you brought up a good point. Is running an ethical business is not easy, and it does not. It's not always the fastest way to grow a platform is ethically. That's just the way of business.
So let me say this then, and this is like I guess a poll for the group. Ethics is a funny topic, right? Because one person's ethics can be very different than another person's ethics. It could be very ethical for one person to kill somebody of another opposing culture, because that's in their culture, that's very ethical, something to do, right? Because of course you want to get rid of this other person, this other culture. So the way I see this always happening, it seems to be the same thing every time. You guys are doing a great job of focusing on the ethics of security and the ethics of anonymity. Companies that don't, like Facebook and Twitter, right? They start off with the idea of it's very important. Of course, ostensibly, they still to this day, right? They speak before Congress about how this is security is extremely important to us. But I think one of the ways that they weasel their way out of that is, something you mentioned. You said that you want Minds to be a platform where people only see what they want to see, and that people should be able to see what they want to see. Does it ever become a problem when what a person wants to see is white nationalist propaganda, or what a person wants to see is Antifa videos, right? Antifa propaganda. That's what they want to see, and then because of the internet, it's easy, right? Ready Player One, right? Everybody probably read the book Ready Player One, right? It's a great book. The guy was in Austin, right here, wrote it. People get immersed in their digital life, and it's very easy, from a social network and a social media perspective, to think that what you see on your computer day in and day out is the world, right? Over a period of time, that's the world for you. So this is like a long way to get to this point, but is there a danger that by showing people what they want to see only and not introducing them to other ideas, that they can become like locked in these ideas. And do you also, and part B to this question that's obnoxious and long, sorry, is that do you think that has to do with the divide that we have in our country currently? It's so polarized, right? It's more polarized than it's been in many, many, many years. Is that because people are entrenching themselves in these YouTube algorithms where their page shows them all the political videos that match their perspective only and not the other side?
Yes, but by banning ideas that are convenient to ban and simultaneously not banning ideas that also violate their terms that are not convenient to ban, the whole thing becomes a complete joke. So, Twitter or Facebook or Google will ban one set of ideas and then there'll be another like terrorist or, racist on the other side that doesn't get banned. So people, it's not our job to tell people what to read or what to think. It is, our job to create a safe platform without, calls to violence and, serious illegal harassment and, this kind of stuff. But beyond that, people deserve the freedom to curate their news feed however they want. Now, are there dangers in creating echo chambers for yourself? Yes. Actually, Boost does a great job of showing you stuff outside of your echo chamber. Boost, when you see a Boost every 20 posts in your newsfeed on Minds, it's different from seeing like an ad on Facebook. Like it's actually, often real original content that is just out of your network. And, it's a way to discover really new, interesting stuff. So I think of Boost as an echo chamber breaker. I think that we have a lot of ability to search and, you can subscribe to hashtags now in all different feeds on Minds based on your interests, really find all kinds of diverse content. So, I think that algorithms do feed polarization, but, the issue is that these networks, their default feeds are curated. They're not raw chronological feeds based on everyone that you've subscribed to. This is what we need to stick to. You need to have your main feed be what you created. It's not our job it's our job to keep things, under control to a certain degree within the law, but it's not our job to curate people's consciousness, which is what is happening basically on the other network.
Would you feel so if on your platform you had a group of people who thought the earth was flat,
Mhm.
and they were propagating these ideas and developing these groups and growing these groups and further creating these broadly, like you said, echo chambers, and then someone takes action. I don't know what that would be for a flat earther, but someone takes some kind of action against maybe NASA or something. Would Minds have any culpability? And not just mine. It doesn't have to be Minds. This is a broad question for decentralized social networks in general. I'm just being philosophical. I don't mean to poke it at Minds.
Well, look, if people break the law, then that is breaking the law. So, speech is not, look, the Supreme Court says that speech is okay as long as it's not calling for imminent, specific violence. So, as long as it's not doing that, then speech is speech, and you have to protect speech. You have to protect controversial speech. You have to protect things that you don't agree with. This is actually how you create healthy societies, is to allow the full spectrum of discourse to occur, and ultimately, which we've seen has been working pretty well over the last few hundred years, is that the good speech and the most intelligent speech tends to drown out the ignorant speech. And there's sort of an amplification of this idea that there's so much racism going on right now. And okay, yeah, there's some, but I think it's pretty obvious that it's not the majority, and not everybody's racist. And even though the media wants to tell you that everybody's racist, everyone's not racist. And it's really just a lot of games that are getting played. And we've actually released a paper, which I can share with you after the interview.
Yeah, we'll post it.
Peer-reviewed research talking about the backfiring of censorship policies, of how censorship policies create more radicalization, more polarization, more violence in many cases, not the opposite. Open discourse tends to, granted, I'm not saying that violence can never occur in an open forum, but restrictive forums are much more polarizing and radicalizing based on the evidence.
Yeah. On a lighter note, I noticed recently, y'all got a pretty good investment from, I believe, Medicini Ventures and Patrick Byrne, and that he'll be joining y'all's board of directors if he hasn't already. How do you feel like that's going to benefit y'all and drive for the future?
Yeah, so it's Medici Ventures. They are a blockchain-focused venture firm, very awesome group, and it's huge. I mean, last year we did an equity crowdfunding round. We raised like $1 million in like 2 weeks from 1,500 members of our community, and it was epic.
Wow.
And then, recently we did this raise with Medici and are focusing more on crypto and decentralization and just evolving the platform, getting the UX polished. And yeah, I mean, it's incredible. There's, we are really focused on making our tokens valuable to the users. In some cases, users are finding it easier to get reach on Minds than even on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, because on those sites you have to pay to get seen. On Minds, you can actually sit there and earn tokens and boost your stuff and actually get heard, even though we're a fraction of the size of those big networks. Somehow that's what's occurring. So no, yeah, Patrick is awesome. He's building incredible crypto projects. He's Overstock CEO, very revolutionary platform that was the first retailer to accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
he's full in on crypto now at this point.
Yep.
Bill, hey man, we really, really, really appreciate you coming on the show. I know our listeners are going to love the things that we talked about here. I love personally so I asked a lot of these questions, I think, from the opposite view that I have. But I think the way that you answered each of these questions about ethics, about security, is exactly the way that we should be thinking about these types of things. More speech is better, right? More speech is better. And more speech in the long run will drown out the speech that is detrimental to society, and more speech is the answer to hate speech. More speech is the answer to, it's not defining your version of hate speech and then I'm going to block that out because I mean, it's just like you said, that becomes the slippery slope where, okay, well, how do you define hate speech? Well, this is offensive speech. Okay, well, it offends me, then I hate it, and it's hate speech. And then before you know it, you're blocking people out of the ability to just express themselves for fear. And then it becomes like it becomes your people's workplaces, right? It becomes your workplace. And it used to be the internet, and it was free and freedom of expression. And so we love Minds. We post on Minds. We'll continue to use Minds. We love that you guys are growing. We love that you guys are hiring right now. That's such an important issue for people to wondering what Minds is doing. If they're hiring, they're growing. they're protecting speech, and they're driven by ethics that are deeply well thought out. Bill, where can people find you on the internet? Tell them what's the best way to get access to the platform. Where are you at?
You can find me at minds.com/Ottman, Ottman. And yeah, that's the main place to hit me up. I'm pretty accessible. I really try to post all the time and stay as active as possible, because it's like, and this is how we think of it as a team. If we're not using Minds for our day-to-day communications, posting, networking, communication, then why would anyone else? So it's like, I deleted Facebook. I'm deleted Instagram. I'm trying to morph the platform into something that is easy to use. And we're not perfect. Like, we are moving as fast as we can, trying to keep up. It's not easy to keep up with multi-billion-dollar social networks who have thousands of developers working for them, and releasing legitimately insane features. So we're trying to keep up. We're doing a pretty good job, I think. And over the next couple of years, we're going to be growing faster. So yeah, hit me up. And the next few months are going to be crazy. I mean, it seems like every day there's a new scandal, new viral surge. It's just, the internet is a crazy place.
The internet is a crazy place.
That it is.
And we appreciate what you guys are doing for the internet and for the decentralized community. We appreciate what you guys are doing in cryptocurrency. And we hope to have you back on the show sometime in the future. We're looking forward to following Minds as it grows.
Yeah, hit me up. Make sure to connect with me on Minds, and let's keep the conversation going. Let's come back on in a few months.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Bill.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Well, that just about wraps things up for this episode of The D. We really appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure to hit us a like, hit us a subscribe, comment if you want to hear anything specific. We love hearing from our audience. You can find us on decentralizedtalk.com, any streaming platform you can think of. Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Castbox. There's more. There's a lot more. I just can't think of them all. We're out there. Subscribe, listen, learn, and we will grow this crypto space together. I promise you. Till the next bull run, we're tuning out. No, I'm just kidding. We will be back. We are not waiting for the next bull run. Who knows when that could be. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Links in the description below. As always, stay decent, cryptos.